No, I am your reviewer. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another Captain Foley movie review. Today we're doing Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. Put my lightsaber away. So, we're doing the special edition. I don't have the Blu-ray, but I do have the special edition widescreen, which we're going to look at. Any changes that are made for the special edition, I'll address and see whether they're good or bad or what I think of them. So, we're going to get right straight into this. And I might as well address this now. I have my Millennium Falcon here. It's an AMT model I built about 20 years ago and painted myself, because it's going to be in the thumbnail for this video, and I'm sure I'm going to get comments saying, where'd you get that Millennium Falcon, Captain Foley, and where can I get one? Built it, painted it myself. Now, I'm going to have rotating toy items here as the movie goes on. Last time for Star Wars, I just had R2 and 3PO. But we're starting this one off with the Imperial Probe Droid and Luke on his Tauntaun, and that's going to change as the movie progresses. So just so you guys have something other than me to look at. I mean, I'm sure you guys want variety. And I said this for Star Wars, but I'm going to say it again. Reading. One of the things that always bothered me about Star Wars, especially as a kid, hated the reading part. Didn't actually do it half the time, probably, but there you have it. I think a narrator, like in the Clone Wars or something, would be a lot better. But what can you do, right? Another great opening shot, seeing the Star Destroyer there, launching up the little probes, which are one of these things. I just love the Star Wars establishing shots. They're very well done. Good job, Lucas. And before I get all jumped over in the comments, yes, I know, I'm aware that Lucas did not direct this movie, so shh. It's like, whoa. Very cool droid. This thing always freaked me out as a kid. I wasn't sure if it was a droid or a probe. They say it's a probe, but it almost comes off as a droid to me, and I always thought it was creepy and spooky looking, kind of like a spider. So, and look, there. I think this added Wampa scene really works for me. As we've talked about in the other movie, a lot of the special edition features that are added, people don't like. They think that they're not needed, which I agree with. The movies were hugely successful without them, but I think some of them are welcome little additions and really speak to me, and this is one of them. I think it just adds to the scene and kind of increases Luke's peril, if you will, that this thing is vicious. You actually get to see it, and it's definitely one of my favorite additions to this movie. So, I'm going to also throw out some interesting little facts. An interesting fact, this scene, when they filmed it, there was actually a snowstorm that day, obviously. And so the crew is huddled nice and kind of warm in the doorway, the back door to the hotel. And Luke's out there getting filmed in the cold because they couldn't actually get to the shooting location. So they were stuck filming at the hotel. But you really can't tell, and it's an awesome job. And this scene is like one of the most human scenes in Star Wars, and it's not even human. The sound that Chewie makes here and the expression he conveys is just heartbreaking.
Actually, R2 has been known to make mistakes. From time to time. Dear, dear.
So, it's by far one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Almost everybody else agrees with that. So, more sadness. Another interesting fact, this is the first and only time you see another character besides a Jedi using a lightsaber. It's Chris Han Solo cutting open the Tauntaun. And Han's lines here are altered. The original was, it'll keep you warm till I get a shelter built. It's a little faster paced. So it's one of those special edition changes that I don't like. That line of dialogue was not necessary for that scene, to change that. I don't know why that was changed, but I'm sure Lucas has, I was going to say a good reason, but a reason. Also, there was a much longer extended scene here that was cut out, which I've recently seen as additional footage, and I think it would have been interesting to put it in. They show a lot of concern for Luke, and I think it would have been a great scene to leave in, but it kind of affected the pacing of the movie if it was in, so I can understand why they took it out. But it would have been a great one to put in. The smug look of satisfaction on Luke's face as he leans back was great when you didn't know that that was his sister. Now it's just kind of wrong. Seeing the Imperial fleet, the Star Destroyers, and hearing that Imperial March music is just gives me goosebumps every time. As a kid, this scene always bothered me. Watch this guy after he gives his orders. What do I do now? He delivers his lines and he looks around very unconfident. It's not a great... Should have been refilmed, I think, personally. And this sound, that beeping, I continue to hear it into this scene for some reason. I don't know if it's just my auditory interpretation of it, but it's always kind of bugged me. When I was younger, I used to notice that these scenes with the snow speeders, whenever you saw the front of the cockpit here, it was like a really bad effect because it was a transparency. You could actually see through the black part and see the walkers and the snow when they crash later. Now, that always bugged me because things like that I catch on to and I notice and I see it every time I watch the movie. Since then, since they've fixed it for the special editions, that's a much appreciated change. I don't know if anybody else has ever caught that before, but if you go back and watch the original ones, every cockpit view with the snow speeder where you're looking at the front, you can actually see through the black part as they pass this AT-AT or whatever. So really kind of irritating, and that's one of those special features that I think really are very welcome, especially for someone like me who notices that like every time. Every time I watch the scene, I look for that, even though I know it's been fixed. Hey look, I recreated the exact same scene we're just going to see. I also want to point out too that I have a lot more Star Wars toys. They're just all packed up in bins right now. They're underneath the stairs. I don't have room to display them. Otherwise I could have this cannon here, and I could have pretty much every figure from this movie. I could reenact the whole movie, but this is only a movie review commentary. It's not really a review. A lot of people give me static because I say it's a review and it's not. Well, you didn't review the movie, you just nitpicked, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is my commentary, Captain Foley commentary. It's like watching the movie with me, the things I would say to you if you were here with me. So I kind of want to get all this stuff off my chest and out into the world, because I know little facts and I know things that irritate me or little mistakes that I've seen, and I like to share that stuff with you guys. Oh no, one of my walkers took a spill. In this scene too, if you notice, once they destroy the AT-AT and it explodes, the debris that falls, it sounds like somebody with gloves clapping. I always thought that was funny. Most useless cannon ever. Now I realize that they are AT-ATs, which is Armored Troop Attack Transport, or All-Terrain Attack Transport, or All-Terrain Armored Transport. I don't remember exactly what it stands for, but there's armor. I understand that. But that very powerful looking cannon hits a joint and all it does is nothing. It doesn't even set it back or cause a little bit of an explosion on the surface. It just... What was that all about? Okay, this scene here where Luke crashes, it looks like the snowspeeder stops about 5 feet above the snowpack. I mean, yeah, there's snow that's thrown up, but just from my perspective, it looks like it's like above the snow when it stops. It probably is. It's probably on a rig of some kind, and snow was thrown up on it. It's just something I've always noticed and just bugs me. I don't know why I notice these things. And I would think that that would crush that a little more than it did. Also, the scene coming up always seemed kind of odd to me, the way the back leg of the AT-AT kind of does a step back. Now, I understand they're probably repositioning to shoot the power generator, but it just looks funny to me. And I don't know if it was a mistake per se, or if that's what they intended to do. So the Imperials storm the base. Some of the scenes they cut out were of Wampas that were in fact in the base. The C-3PO rips a sign off a door, caution of Wampa, whatever. And they're also in the game Shadows of the Empire. You get to shoot Wampas in the Rebel base. I think it's a scene that really should have been left out, so that's a good thing that they did leave it out. But it's just an interesting little tidbit. And this Millennium Falcon reminds me of my Camaro. I love the thing to pieces, but sometimes it's just a piece of shit and acts up. And you gotta like kick it or hit it to get it to work. So, like this. It's true. My radio will short out after I go over railroad tracks. Just kick the bottom of the dashboard. All of a sudden the radio starts up again. I know. I got work to do. But I love the thing, the pieces. And his tracking with his eyes doesn't really fit where the Falcon was. It's kind of ahead of the Falcon. Could just be me misinterpreting what I see, but that's definitely what I see. Also, a change and a correction made to the special editions are the fact that R2-D2 is blue. Originally, when you saw the space scenes, all those blue parts were black because of the blue background. Would have been transparent. So I've gone in and fixed that. It's something that kind of, as a young kid, I just kind of put it up to being, oh, they're in space, so the colors aren't as bright and vibrant, so the black is all right. But now seeing it corrected, it looks much better that way, the way it's supposed to be. So, question: who is flying the ship? They're still being chased by Imperial TIE fighters. Pretty sure Princess Leia is not that good of a pilot. Pretty sure there's not an autopilot that can do evasive maneuvering. Maybe there is, I don't know. But it always bugged me, who is flying the ship at this point? C-3PO's not. She's in the pilot's seat, but I don't know if I'd trust her to get away from TIE fighters, especially with the maneuvers that he was pulling to get away from them. Some of these asteroids, one is the Millennium Falcon that's actually fuzzed out a little bit, that flies by. One's a shoe, one's a potato. So a couple of hidden things in there. Hey look, it's the scene from the Star Trek Into Darkness where they're flying through the canyon. Thanks, JJ. So he starts the landing cycle and he crashes, but that's okay. I think the X-Wing is on the same rig as the snowspeeder was, because it appears like he doesn't even hit the water. Looks like he hits a few feet above the water. Which, actually thinking about it, makes sense, because it's a long nose. But then again, the snowspeeder wasn't a long nose, and the snowspeeder looks a lot more fake than that one did. So, okay. I'll take back what I just said about the X-Wing being on the same rig, even though it probably was. It makes more sense that the water looks further away when it hits.
Where are you?
So Archie just got eaten by a swamp monster, or will in a second.
R2!
And one thing I realized when I did the research for the Trekyards episode where we look at the X-Wing, is that they don't have a navigation computer aboard the X-Wing. The astromech droid is the navigation unit. So if something happens to R2 here, he has no way to get back to an inhabited system because he has no one to calculate his hyperspeed jump. It's not like dust and crops, boy. you know. So it's one of the things I just learned about the X-Wing that doesn't have a navigation computer at all. So if you lose your droid, you're pretty much screwed if you're in an unfamiliar system. So probably not the best situation they could be in, but good thing R2-D2 doesn't taste good. I remember seeing this when I was a kid and being so freaked out the first time. I'm like, oh my god, R2's gone. It's one of the things that I can remember from my childhood. And then to see that, I was like laughing because of the way he screamed, and I felt so relieved. So it's one of those memories from my childhood, especially a movie-related memory that really stuck with me, because R2-D2 is my favorite Star Wars character. Now this scene here, I recently learned that they filmed this a few times with Han and Leia, and he got a little bit frustrated, as I'm sure everybody does once you have to do a couple of takes. But at the one part where she says, being held by you isn't quite enough to get me excited, if you watch really closely, right behind her, he's mouthing her line for her. So just something to note. Watch this.
Oh, please.
Don't get excited.
Captain, being held by you isn't quite enough to get me excited.
See, he's mouthing her words. So it got to that point where they had done it a few times, and he was just making sure that she was spot on, I guess. I don't know. But something to note and worth looking at. Now here, how does Luke intend to actually get this thing out? If he doesn't use the Force, he's basically screwed. He could send a distress call, I guess, maybe get some help. But, I mean, seriously, what's he going to do? Absolutely love Yoda in this movie. Like I said, I watched these when I was very, very young. And it kind of imprinted on me my original kid impressions. And I never got the impression that Yoda was a powerful Jedi Master from this. I mean, that's the point. He's in hiding. He's kind of just acting like a crazy old hermit. But it would be interesting to find out more about Yoda's people. I know George Lucas has deliberately left that kind of up in the air. They haven't named his planet. They haven't named his species. If they have, let me know, because from what I've heard, that's not known. So it would be great to learn more about them. I know there's Yaddle in the Phantom Menace, but she's on the Jedi Council. But we'll get to that when we get to the Phantom Menace. So, but I absolutely love Yoda here. He's hilarious. If you notice, he doesn't even take a bite out of that. It just. But I just remember it's the most hilarious thing. And when he takes the flashlight and starts beating R2, no, mine. It's absolutely hilarious. And they use his cane to actually close R2's door because he hits it closed. Just awesome.
I don't want your help. I want my land back. I'm gonna need it to get out of this slimy mud hole.
Mud hole? Slimy. My home this is. So it's like two of my favorite characters going at it right there. It's freaking hilarious. Beating him with a stick. And I was wondering too why he wasn't as amazed by the droid, because I thought he was this primitive little guy who didn't know about technology, and there's this droid there. My mind as a kid was totally different than how it works now. Ish.
You know it?
But even then, after I learned he was a Jedi Master, I didn't know how he could fight with a lightsaber, if he even did, or if just use the Force for everything, because he was supposed to be so powerful. So it's very cool to see him use a lightsaber in a way in the other movies. But we'll talk about that in the other movie reviews, which I'll be doing after all these ones are finished. But there you have it. So I just came to a realization about C-3PO. I think the C in C-3PO stands for cockblocker. This scene I always thought was funny. Oh yeah, all the other Star Destroyers are getting damaged. There's a message from the Emperor. And let's get out of the asteroid field so we can send a clear transmission. I always thought as a kid, like, wow, Darth Vader just wants to get out of the asteroid field so he doesn't get destroyed. Because the Super Star Destroyer is huge compared to a Star Destroyer, and the Star Destroyer is just taking huge damage. Now this scene here with the Emperor, this is totally redone for the special edition, both graphics and the conversation. I think it's not necessary for sure. It keeps more of a mystery the other way. So this is something that I'm not really happy with per se. I'm glad they replaced the Emperor because originally they had like, I think it was a monkey that they actually had for the face. It didn't look quite right. So to tie the Emperor in is a good idea. But this whole conversation about the son of Anakin Skywalker and not necessary per se. It ties in with the other movies for sure. But the mystery of the conversation before you see all that, I think is much more beneficial. So this part should not have been changed. It's like Yoda's grasping at straws for reasons not to train him now. Oh, he's just too old now. What have you learned, Luke? You learned how to block with your lightsaber. What did Ben teach you? Ben taught you basically nothing. So how can you say I've learned so much? And this part creeps me out.
You will be. You will be.
Scary as fuck. So they flew down this worm's throat and landed. I know they have little breathe things on so they can breathe. But wouldn't it be as cold as space in there? I'm sure it wouldn't be warm enough that they would not freeze to death. Because space is absolute zero. They're basically just down this thing's throat. I can't believe it's throwing off that much body heat. So something's... And... yeah. I don't know, something's always bugged me.
Only what you take with you.
Now, I would listen to Yoda here personally.
Your weapons. You will not need them.
I would have listened to him. Pretty much anything Yoda says I would have listened to. I mean, I know you're young and you think you know it all, but when you're talking to someone that's 900 years old and has been training Jedi for 800 years, it's not something to just brush off as going, well, I know more than you do. And this part always confused me. So much. Just looking at it from a kid's perspective, you don't know if Darth Vader's actually there. You're like, oh my god, how did he find them? And then he gets his head cut off and it's Luke, and you're like, what is that all about? I mean, it cool that it ties it in with the whole he's a Skywalker thing. I don't know. And is this cave really strong in the dark side? I mean, that's what Yoda said, but what does that mean exactly? Is there like spots where you can harness certain force powers? So when Yoda said only what you take with you is what's in there, this I guess would be Luke's greatest fear. Makes sense. Neat scene. Just I don't know. I didn't know how to interpret it as a kid, and it really jaded my view of this part. So I was like, what's going on? Boom. And I know now, as an adult, that that's kind of revealing to him that he is related to Vader. But yeah, just as a younger kid, it just something didn't sit well with that scene for me. I didn't know if it was a failure or a victory on Luke's part. The way Yoda reacted, it's kind of like a failure. Boss, very cool. Now that uniform he's wearing is actually in Doctor Who. It was one of the early ones. Can't remember which one exactly, but it's being worn by a black guy. So if you guys know which Doctor Who that boss suit was in, let me know. It's the exact same suit. And of course we got Jango Fett's voice there. Kind of erasing the original voice actor, the original actor. Jeremy Bullock, I think, from Star Wars history. I don't agree with at all. His voice could have changed. It doesn't have to sound like Jango Fett.
Alright, I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
One of the best lines of cinematic writing ever. Great advice. And something I've used as a father many times with my kids. They'll say they're going to try to do something, and I use that line, and they're like, Dad. So this part, where they float away with the garbage, it always made me wonder, it still does, what do the Imperials have on Star Destroyers, garbage-wise, that is so big that you could hide a Millennium Falcon in it? I mean, there's some pretty big pieces of debris there. How is that garbage? Could be just compacted garbage. That makes a lot of sense because they have garbage compactors on the Death Star. But it looks like parts of ships and things. It doesn't look like compacted cubes of garbage, which would have made more sense. And this scene where they add in Boba Fett and Slave One following them, excellent addition to the special edition movies as far as I'm concerned, in my honest opinion. So another question I've had, where does that ladder come from? Where does it get stored? And how, if you don't use the Force, are you supposed to get your astromech droid up on top of the ship if you're not at a base where they can like lift him up with that thing to put him in? How did the droids get up there? Where's that ladder come from? A whole bunch of unanswered questions, guys. Although they're probably answered, and you guys can probably help me. Put in the comments below. I would love to find out the answers to those questions.
Told you I did. Reckless to see. Now, matches are worse.
That boy is our last hope.
No. There is another.
I know that it's the writing for the prequels that kind of screws things up. But how would Ben not know that there was another Skywalker? I mean, even if he didn't know in life, which he did, clearly, having been dead and being one with the Force, you would think that he would know that there was Leia out there, that's a twin sister. So I know it's just, these were written first and they make it much better a story. But when George Lucas wrote the originals, he just didn't really consider a lot of things, which he really should have.
Something's wrong.
You look absolutely beautiful.
And this is where Finn comes from the new movies. When Lando was looking after Leia while Han was in Carbonite, just saying, I see a correlation. The special edition has more windows and whatnot in Cloud City, and I think that's a great improvement. Especially later when you see when the sunset and it's all orange. I think that's an addition that's very welcome for me personally. I don't know what you guys think. So does he use like a force, pardon the pun, force field when it hits his hand?
If you would join us.
How awkward would this whole supper be? I'll always wonder what they would talk about. That's why I love the robot chicken version of this.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, strange situation. Really, are they going to actually sit down and have food, or you would think that the Emperor would take them away? The Empire would take them away. Because, I mean, here we see him in a prison cell. So, were they taken right away by the stormtroopers into the brig? Or did they sit down and have a nice meal? And go, okay, here's the deal. We are here. We are capturing you. But we know you've had a long, tough flight. So, let's eat first. So she asks, why are they doing this?
Why are they doing this?
You're never going to ask me any questions. That's because Vader is one with the Force, and he can see the future-ish, and he realizes he has a daughter, maybe, and he knows that they're going to be together, so it's torturing his daughter's boyfriend, which is every father's dream, right? So that's what I think it was. I don't know. No, I realize that he doesn't know that Leia is... Yeah. But anyway, it's just... Why would they torture him? I wonder how carbon freezing would feel. I know you get hibernation sickness when you wake up, but I mean... Is it burning? Is it ouchy? I don't know. It looks painful because of the way he's like... Yeah, what a real bummer note this movie goes into, eh? And it was such a downer because you didn't know how he would be recovered from that, if he even could be recovered from that. I mean, after we see Return of the Jedi, we know the answers, so it's not as impactful, but that first time seeing this, it's like, he's alive, but how we don't understand how he's going to be get out of that. I mean, it's just craziness. I mean, I wish I could go back and erase my memory and watch movies for the first time, because after you know what happens and you know what happens in the sequels, it's like you watch them, it's like, yeah, wow, that was really impactful at the time, but it just doesn't hit you like it did the first time. So I wish I had like a Men in Black, you know, flashy thing, so I could just erase my memory of a movie and watch it again for the first time. I think that'd be amazing. One thing I've always wondered, and I still don't know, is Lobot, is he like a robot, or is he a cyborg, or what is he? Is he mainly human? This part here, how is R2 supposed to get over the lip of that door? I mean, he could probably rotate his body and put his middle thing down. I don't know. Just R2 and stairs and stuff always confused me as a kid. Now, I know that in the prequels, you see him going downstairs and how they kind of do that. So, but yeah, that lip on the bottom of that door, wouldn't have been able to get past that. Now, this scene here is a perfect example of the special editions doing the right thing. This looks incredible compared to what it used to look like. So, kudos to them, a great job. And I don't care what you say about the special editions or features that they added. This is one of those ones that really works for me, and I think it's even there. It just makes Cloud City look so much more impressive. Once again, not needed, but I think it really helps with the visuals, and also not needed for the story. But it's something that I think really enhances the experience of watching this movie, unlike some of the other additions or changes that he made. Kind of pissed Vader off. So I guess losing your hand is like a Skywalker tradition. But, ow. It's cool though, lightsabers kind of cauterize the wound at the same time, so you won't bleed to death.
Do not yet realize your importance. We've only begun to discover your power. Join me, and I will complete your training. With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy. I'll never join you. If you only knew the power of the dark side. Obi-Wan never told you what happened.
Gotta play the reveal. I'm sorry, guys.
He told me you killed
Me. I am your father.
That's not true. That's impossible.
Search the feelings
You know it to be true. No. looks like this all buck tooth there. No.
Destroy the Emperor. He has foreseen this. It is your
One of the best moments in cinematic history, bar none. Biggest surprise. What a twist!
the galaxy is far
I mean-
from sun.
Now exactly what did Luke plan to do here? Get his other hand cut off? Because grabbing onto that thing while it's closing is kind of pointless. You're not going to get up there in time. And all it would do is cut off your fingers. Ow. Now Luke calls out to Leia there. Is it because he's calling out to her using the Force that she hears him? Or does she hear him because she herself can use the Force as in tune to it? Or is it the fact that they're twins that she can hear him? Like, there's... What exactly
What about those fighters?
gives her this inspiration to turn around? Is it him projecting the Force, her just knowing innately that he's in trouble because she can sense it in the Force? Or just because they're twins? And you know how twins have a special bond sometimes? This scene here is an added extra special feature again. When Lando's going up through the hatch here, there's two hatches. There's an inner one and an outer one. Great addition, because I always, you know, for an airlock seal, that's what you kind of need. So that's a great addition. I'm glad they put that in. Perfect choice. Good job. Once again, not really needed, but it enhances the viewing experience as far as I'm concerned. That.
Standing here in pieces, and
You're having delusions of grandeur. He said, you can't fix hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon. Let Chewbacca do it. Does he not know that astromech droids, that's what they're for repairs on systems, especially hyperdrive and navigation systems? It's like the end of the movie, and there's so much stuff that's left unresolved. It's like so climactic right at the end. That's what makes this movie one of the best movies, is because of that. It's that middle chapter of the story. There's so much unresolved, there's so much revelations we've just heard, and also when the movie's over, it leaves you wanting so much more.
We're ready for takeoff.
Although it is incredibly weird here how Lando Calrissian's wearing Han Solo's clothes. At least until you think about it.
I'll meet you at the rendezvous.
A lot of people have pointed that out, that it's kind of creepy that he's wearing Han's clothes, but at the same time, he only had one pair of clothes when he left Cloud City. The Falcon probably had a few different outfits on board. They're about the same size. I'd throw on the clothes too. I'd want to change out of my stinky escape clothes. Although they do have they are with a bunch of support craft, which I'm sure you could buy or purchase or acquire clothing at. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? Another quick interesting fact about the beginning of the movie where Luke had the scarring or the damage from the Wampa. That's actually because Mark Hamill was in a car accident before they started filming. So he had facial damage and reconstruction. A little bit of mild reconstruction, I think. But that's why they included that scene with the Wampa, to include that. So I forgot to mention that earlier. But there goes Lando and Chewie off to find Han Solo. So it is one of those cinematic moments where it's like, to be continued? Absolutely. And it's a real grab you and you want to come back and see more. Alright guys, that's it for this review of Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. So tune in for my next review, which will probably be The Phantom Menace. No, just kidding. It'll be Return of the Jedi. And definitely tune in because you want to find out who wins, whether it's good or whether it's evil. Alright guys, Captain Foley signing off until next time. Thank you for joining me. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out all my other movie reviews. Either Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. I'm going to be doing a lot of them. Bye everybody.